Hey everyone, His Dark Material Season 2 Episode 6 has just aired on the BBC. This is the second last episode of the season, and it's quite a big one. As always, just be careful for spoilers from this episode and anything that's came before. So yeah, this episode is a slower one. It's not my favourite ever, but that's not an insult to the episode. That's not me being negative. I think it's just because the last few ones have just been so good, especially the last couple. But yeah, this episode is slower, but the ending is freaking awesome, and it has some of the best scenes so far in the entire series. It's a slow build up, and at times you feel like nothing's really happening, but when you get to the big payoff, it's definitely worth it. So yeah, quick recap. Everyone's pretty much in Chittagazze now. Will and Lyra are back there now, the witches too, Mary Malone, Mrs. Coulter, Lord Boreal, and of course Lee Scoresby and John Parry. This episode does set up a lot for next week, which is the big finale. We saw how epic the finale was for Season 1, I think this one's going to top it. And like I've told you guys many times, The Subtle Knife is my favourite book in this series. Just like the show, it does start pretty slow, but the last half is just so good, and I can't wait for next week. I just can't wait to see one of my favourite books ever played out on screen. So we do get a quick mention of Lord Asriel. We haven't seen him since Season 1. I don't think we're going to see him this season. We were meant to get another episode that was going to be focused on him. This season was meant to have 8 episodes just like the first one, but they had to cut it because they couldn't film it in time. Obviously James McAvoy as Lord Asriel is a major player in the show, both the actor and the character. Even though we don't see him, we are reminded about him pretty much every episode. Ruta Skadi's on her way to meet Asriel, and we've also seen angels for the first time. We saw a group of angels in the sky heading to Lord Asriel's fortress. We haven't seen the angels up close yet, and I'm very interested to see how their designs are going to play out on the show. Obviously when it comes to adapting a series, a lot of designs are changed. For instance, the Spectres. They are meant to be some sort of translucent blob, and on the show they're more like venom symbiotes, or even dementors. You know, a venom symbiote combined with a dementor. That's the best way to describe it. And I believe, if I remember correctly in the books, angels are very human-like, but they're almost see-through. Like I said, we saw a glimpse of them in the sky, but we also saw a glimpse of one of them up close next to Mary on the beach. It was almost invisible, but it was protecting her from the Spectres. Remember, the angel that communicated with Mary through the cave did say she would have protection. She's got a guardian angel looking over her back. So the Mary scenes were very slow, but I do enjoy them, especially the scene of Angelica and Paolo. Paolo wanting a hug was pretty heartbreaking. It just hits you. You realise how alone and scared these kids really are. Yeah, earlier you see them in some sort of like horror scene when there's a group of them in the dark, chasing Lyra, shouting her name, wanting to kill her and Will. Pretty freaky. But then you realise they're just scared children. And eventually they know the Spectres are going to get them when they grow up. So we're going to talk about that scene when they attack Will and Lyra. I think the book done it better. Yeah, it was pretty freaky at the start when they were hanging about in the dark, then they all gathered up, shouting Lyra's name. But I think the book done it better. If I remember correctly, they chase Will and Lyra up a hill, and then Will can't cut a window into another world because they're on top of a hill. And if they cut it into another world, for instance Will's Oxford, they would be above the road, high up. Kind of felt it was a bit rushed as it was only a few minutes long. I think the book done it better. There's a lot of scenes in this show that the book does better, but there's also scenes the show does better, which we'll get to later. The next few scenes are pretty slow. Lyra catches up with Serafina Pekkala, introduces him to Will. Serafina's not too keen on Will, she's kinda a bit unsure what his motives are, especially with the knife. She knows it's incredibly dangerous. There's a lot of character building going on here, and it drives the story on. But after the last couple episodes that were just so action-packed, and not dumb action, they were smart action, this did feel like it dragged out. Sometimes these exposition scenes do drag out, but some of the slower scenes that are more character-driven, they work incredibly well. For instance, Will telling Lyra about his mum. And we'll also stick with Will and Lyra and talk about one of the ending scenes. We see the Spectres in action. We see them attack a witch. And something that really bothered me, or not so much bothered me, I would say more of a nitpick, was the fact the Spectres attacked the witch, and they weren't really afraid of the knife. Yeah, Will did scare them off. He drove them off with a knife. He had to chase them. But John Parry just told us the Spectres don't go anywhere near the tower because the knife was there. Not sure if that's because they're under the control of Mrs. Coulter now, or maybe the fact that the show just wanted to make it feel more epic. Will drives them off. Anyways, we'll talk about John Parry and Lee Scoresby now. They spend a lot of time getting to know each other. Lee doesn't seem to trust John Parry yet. He's a bit unsure on his abilities, you know, you're a shaman, do this, do that. But I did enjoy the scene when John says he'll start the fire, and Lee's kind of thinking he's going to create fire using magic, and he just pulls out matches. If you've read the books, you know something big's coming next week, and I'm not going to spoil it for those that haven't, but we did get a quick teaser this week, when John summoned a storm to shoot down the Magisterium ships, and he also summoned a flock of birds. Not sure if that was in the book. I know he summoned a storm, but then he ran out of energy and he couldn't destroy the last few. They have been shot down, so they're on the ground now, and next week, guys, yeah, it's going to be a big one. But sticking with this week, I must say this show looks incredibly impressive visually. Yeah, it's got great characters and a great story, but visually that might be one of its greatest strengths, especially for a TV show, and a smaller TV show. You know, it's not on the Game of Thrones or The Witcher level. I don't know the show's budget, I've never looked that up, but I'm sure it's nowhere near compared to Game of Thrones, or even The Witcher. But damn, it still looks great. So we've got one more bit to talk about before we get to the big Mrs. Coulter scenes. Let's talk about the Magisterium. You guys know they're my favourite characters. Yeah, I'm not their biggest fan. Sometimes they slow the episode down, and this episode was slow enough, so that slowed it right down. But for once, something actually happened. Well, nothing too epic or anything like that, but we actually got something that drove the story on, more than just the Magisterium talking about how they're losing control. Cardinal MacPhail knows about Lyra. He knows that supposedly there's a prophecy about her. They didn't reveal her name, but the Magisterium needs to kill her before the prophecy can be fulfilled, and in their eyes, the first sin repeated. So yeah, let's talk about the real important stuff this week. Mrs. Coulter now controls the Spectres in Cittàgazze, and she kills Lord Boreal. And there's a big change from the books here. I'm sure in the books she makes a deal with the Spectres somehow. She's able to communicate with them and negotiate a deal, that she can get them more prey if they don't kill her, which is fair enough. And I'm sure she teaches them how to fly for the first time. But on the show, they can already fly. We've seen that several times. And the show's way of explaining it is Mrs. Coulter controls the Spectres by suppressing what makes her human, because the Spectres feed off what makes us human, our soul, our demon basically. And I love this change, love the concept and the execution. You could see the fear in Mrs. Coulter, but she took the risk and now has incredible power. This is one of the best changes the show has ever done, and it was visually stunning. The way they surrounded Mrs. Coulter and she moves her hands, controlling their direction. Loved it. Mrs. Coulter is definitely the star of this episode. In fact, she's the star of this entire show. Nobody touches her. She's killed Lord Boreal. She poisoned him. He was caught in her trap. We know that he wants her, and he wants power. And Mrs. Coulter has just displayed the power of the Spectres. This was her moment to get rid of him. She used the power that she's shown many times over men, and that was Lord Boreal's biggest mistake. Lord Boreal is one of the few characters in the show that can be classified as a villain, you could say alongside the Magisterium. Mrs. Coulter is a very grey character, she's not so much a villain. Well, she is, but she's so complicated, she's so grey. She's in the middle, whereas Lord Boreal is kind of just a standard villain. But I will admit, it was pretty sad watching him realise he was beaten, and he was dying. He even shed a tear. His characters had a lot of changes from the books, and he was given a lot more screen time. For instance, in Season 1, he was using windows to get to World's World, whereas we don't see that until the second book. I've not enjoyed every single moment of Lord Boreal, mostly to do with the plot, but the performance has been great. But this was a Mrs. Coulter episode. She's stolen this show and nothing tops her. You could argue that James McAvoy, Lord Asriel, might be her only equal. Or Daphne Keane as Lyra. I think she's great as well, but Mrs. Coulter is definitely the best character on this show. And don't forget about Lin-Manuel Miranda as Lee Scoresby. I like him as well. But Mrs. Coulter's where it's at. She's the best. So yeah, not one of my favourite episodes ever. First half was just so slow, and the Angelica chasing Will and Lyra scene kind of felt rushed. But I loved the last 20 minutes, and everything with Mrs. Coulter. She looks fabulous, she's brilliant. Ruth Wilson's just incredible, and I just want to praise her all the time. She's really made this show. But obviously I want you guys to post your thoughts on episode 6. But yeah guys, I think I've rambled enough. As always, thank you so much for watching. Here's some more videos while you wait, and I'll see you in the next one.